Hello and welcome back to the New View. In the last episode, we did something a little bit different. We did basically what I guess I'd describe it as a lightning round, where basically we covered a bunch of topics in between four individuals. So yeah, that was interesting. That was pretty crazy. It basically turned into a dumpster fire. And so um, uh, today, we have Slushy. What's up, Slushy?
Hello.
So yeah, thanks for coming on. So today's topic is extremism. Uh, yeah, just overall extremism. Uh, um, so as you know, in this world today, yeah, extremism is pretty prevalent on. Well, the mainstream media says it's both sides, but the truth is it's really all sides because it's not just left and right. There's also authoritarianism and
Yeah.
libertarianism. Yeah, for sure. Um, so so I just happen to be an extremist. How about you? I'm actually not quite sure if you're a political alignment. Would you consider yourself to be an extremist?
Uh. Yeah.
Well, cool.
Um.
What kind of extremist do you consider yourself?
Uh. Left wing.
Left wing? Nice. So you're a far leftist, huh?
Yeah.
Well, that's cool. So am I. How about where do you stand on authoritarian versus libertarian? Are you a communist or an
Um.
anarchist or something in between?
Uh. Yeah. Wait. Hang on a second.
Oh, you're good. Um, yeah. So yeah, in the meantime, yeah, they just went like they just have to mute real fast. But yeah. So anyway, in the meantime,
Oh, sorry.
oh,
Sorry. I
okay,
just had
okay,
to do something. My dad was calling me.
okay, you're good. Don't worry. So,
And
how would you describe yourself, when it comes to authoritarian versus libertarian? Would you say you're a communist or anarchist
okay.
or something in between?
Um. Anarchist.
Well, that's cool. Yeah,
Yeah.
I also so happen to be far left anarchist as well. So yeah, that's quite a coincidence.
Yeah.
What kind of anarchist would you say specifically, if you don't mind me asking? Because there are many schools of thought and many that are even included within far left anarchism.
Maybe. Um. Um. I'm not sure. There's two. I'm not really sure which one of the two I am.
Oh, that's all right. Yeah, it's okay. It's completely okay to not be for certain because the truth is there are
Yeah.
many kinds of anarchist schools of thought. Like you
Yeah,
got
there are two that I'm kind of in the middle of those two. Basically, both of them, I guess.
wait in the middle of what two?
Uh, Pure anarchism and anarcho-communism.
Oh, okay, I see. Yeah, you can actually be both at the same time. So yeah,
Oh,
I
really?
do.
That's cool.
Yeah, for sure. I consider myself to be many types of anarchists at once. I also consider myself a queer anarchist myself. I also consider myself to be an anarcho syndicalist, anarcho environmentalist, or AK green anarchist, a vegan anarchist or a vegan anarchist. Let's see what else. And an anarcho pacifist. Um, yeah, I'd say I agree with many anarchist schools of thought, which I appreciate
Yeah,
the diversity throughout anarchist schools of thought because you got tons ranging from the far left to the far right. Because in the far right, you got stuff like uh, anarcho-capitalism, which a lot of people hate. That seems to be like the most hated form of extremism. No, wait, actually, all extremism tends to be hated overall. I'd say the most hated is
yeah.
probably Nazism, and rightfully so. Because
Hang on a second.
oh,
Again, I'm
okay,
sorry.
no, you're good. Don't worry. Um, so yeah, while while they're while they're ah, while they're doing whatever they're doing, I guess I could just say that uh, well, uh, extremism, well, yeah, the most hated form of
All right,
extremism.
sir. Back.
Okay, gotcha. So uh, let's see, what are we gonna talk about next? Oh yeah, um,
Hang on a
so
second.
okay, yeah. Anyway, so Nazism
Can
is.
I have Roper just came into my room?
Oh no, it's okay. So, sounds pretty interesting. Like a lot's going on over there.
Yeah.
Well,
Uh-huh.
all right, that's cool. Always nice for things to be nice and hectic.
Yeah.
But yeah, so uh, so extremism has many forms, and yeah, the most hated form is Nazism, and yeah, again, rightfully so, because
Yeah. As it
yeah,
should be.
absolutely, because yeah, Nazis are the fucking worst. They make people's
Yeah.
lives terrible. They oppress so many. It goes on and on, but yeah, um,
Yeah.
yeah, for sure. So extremism in general, uh, is basically it's essentially any radical form of really it can apply to anything, but like it can apply to
Yeah.
religion or philosophy or lifestyle, or even your sport choice. Like there are extreme sports, like rock
Yeah.
climbing and stuff. But uh, like specifically, we're going to be talking about the extreme political ideologies, um, which
Yeah.
yeah. Um, so that so that really just includes any idea that's radical or um, just any idea on the edge of the political compass. Um, uh,
Yeah.
yeah. Um, so that includes so there are four corners of the political compass, which you can basically describe as the most extreme ideologies. Um, which would include on the top right Nazism, on the top left communism, on the bottom right anarcho-capitalism, and on the bottom left anarchism. Uh,
Yeah.
yeah. Um, let's see. Um, but yeah, there are also ideologies in between that. Because in the like at the very top, for example, you have fascism, which, as you know, fascism can be left, right, or centrist. Um, but yeah, at the very top, it would essentially be centrist
Yeah.
fascism, which could be uh, fascist mutualism. Uh, let's see, actually, I don't think that's even considered an ideology. There's nothing mutual about fascism.
Yeah.
Yeah. Um, let's see. But yeah, just I think yeah, it's really just called fascism by default. And at the very bottom, you have anarchism again. But yeah, there are many kinds of anarchist schools of thought, like we went over earlier. So in the middle, in between far right and far left anarchism, you have anarcho-mutualism, uh, which is basically uh, anarchism, but with it's not really described as a market, but it's more described as just mutual trading. People trade and barter for goods and services, um, instead of
Yeah.
instead of buying them uh, for profit, or or instead of just sharing them and providing as the collective. Sort of in between those two. Um, but yeah,
Yeah.
do you have any thoughts so far?
Uh, no, not really.
Okay, that's all right. But so on the far left, um, so this is heavily disputed. Um, on the far left, sort of in the middle, it's kind of hard to say exactly what it'd be. Um, because on the far left, um, like at the top of the authoritarian versus libertarian spectrum, yeah, you got communism, and then you got anarchism. But what goes in the middle of that is heavily debated. What would you say goes in the middle of them?
Um, I'm literally not sure. I just call it leftism, I guess.
Yeah, that's fair. You can definitely generalize it as far leftism, really. Some people would argue that socialism would be far left, and that's in between authoritarianism and uh, libertarianism. But uh, but I'd say socialism is more of an authoritarian ideology, because it requires a lot of government regulation, and
It does.
you, yeah, for sure, you can't really consider that to be um, centrist far leftist if you have a lot of government regulation, because that's too authoritarian for that. So
Yeah.
I guess you can include liberalism. Like liberalism tends to be overall pretty moderate, um, but there is such a thing as far left liberals. And I'd say a good example of far left liberals would be a lot of people who have participated in the Black Lives Matter riots over the summer. Um,
Yeah.
yeah, for sure. But at the same time, lots of anarchists, socialists, and communists have also attended those Black Lives Matter riots. Um,
Uh-huh.
yeah. So on the far right, yeah. So the question is, what would be on the far right, in between Nazism and anarcho-capitalism? 'Cause that one's also
Yeah.
tough too. Uh, how about you? Would you happen to know?
I know I wouldn't.
Oh, that's all right. So, uh, what I'd say it is, so there are really a few options we can work with here. So we got, so I'd say conservatism is a fair candidate, because as you know, the Republican Party, especially in the United States, and just conservatives and conservatism in general, have been moving more far and far to the right, and
Yeah.
conservatism, yeah, um, and conservatism, uh, it can be described as in between authoritarianism and libertarianism. Because I've met some conservatives who are just diehard, just gun rights activists,
Yeah.
who will who will be like, "Oh, don't take away my guns, cause my freedom and stuff." What was that?
Like Caitlyn Bennett and stuff.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. Um, and then you have conservatives who are more authoritarian leaning, who overall just want more national security, including like the military and police and NSA, FBI, and stuff. Um, and they want border security. Just overall, a more tight, strict nation. That's more secure, with more just government protections. Um, overall, just I mean that's really just a lot of conservatives, including George W. Bush is definitely a good example of this. Um, let's see who else. I'd also say Ben Shapiro also falls into this. Even though
Yeah.
yeah, for sure, because he actually claims to be a libertarian, but we all know that's bullshit. Yeah, he's not at all because he constantly advocates for government intervention in a lot of aspects, and he advocates for just overall a lot of security, just government security in general. Um, and not to mention, he's he's transphobic, and he wants laws that punish trans people. So yeah, that's definitely not libertarian at all. You can't infringe.
Yeah, not at all.
Absolutely. You can infringe on LGBT rights if you're a libertarian. That's just a contradiction. Well,
I know.
I mean, you can't. I mean, you can technically, like if you're a far right libertarian, but you can't use the government to do that. Which that's what Ben Shapiro wants. He wants the government to punish trans people. Um,
Yeah.
yeah.
Ben Shapiro doesn't really know. No,
He doesn't know what.
he just doesn't.
Yeah, he doesn't. So Ben Shapiro, here's the funny thing about Ben Shapiro. He acts like and he talks like he knows a lot of shit. But the truth is he really doesn't.
Hang on. Sorry.
Okay, you're good. Um, so anyway, I'll talk about Ben Shapiro just for a bit. So Ben Shapiro, uh, yeah, so
Stop! Hang on, sorry, my brother is.
no, you're good. Not a problem. So anyway, Jesus Christ. All right, so Ben Shapiro, um, so once again he claims to be a libertarian, but uh, but yeah, he doesn't even know what libertarianism is.
Yeah.
Yeah, because what libertarian actually is it's a political ideology that advocates for little to no government whatsoever.
No government. Yeah.
And yeah, and Ben Shapiro, he definitely wants more authoritarian leaning government. Um, and yeah, that's obviously in contradiction to libertarianism. He also thinks it's really just a rightist ideology when that's really not the case. It's libertarianism is really an ideology that can be both right and left. And libertarianism also includes anarchism, because anarchists want no government at all. As for libertarians, they typically want little government, but as you know, anarchism, like if you keep pushing that, you're gonna get anarchism, which has no government whatsoever. Oh dang.
Sorry, my brother was just yelling at me. Shut up! So I'm so sorry.
Oh no, you're good. Um, let's see. Um, pretty sure there's a song called "Shut Up" by I think it's Skepta. Shut up. I just
Yeah.
thought that was funny because like you guys are saying "shut up" a lot. It just reminded me of the song "Shut Up" by Skepta. It's a pretty good song. You should check it out.
Yeah. Wait, can I get it first try?
But yeah, do you have any thoughts?
Anyway.
Do you have any thoughts so far?
Just Ben Shapiro just contradicts and is dumb.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, Ben Shapiro,
Yeah.
you can find himself contradicting himself all the time. Uh, especially his uh, values he claims to be his core values. Um, yeah, you really find I I've noticed conservatives in general tend to contradict themselves a lot actually. Because yeah, a lot of them
Hang on, sorry,
yeah.
I'm just gonna mute myself
No, it's
until I.
no, it's cool. Don't worry. But yeah, I'll continue to give an example. So conservatives, so they claim to be, um, they claim to be in support of freedom of religion. Uh, they they absolutely support this when it comes to Christians and Jews. When it comes to Muslims, though, I've noticed conservatives tend to be pretty Islamophobic, and
Yeah.
yeah, for sure. Um, and I'd say that's mostly due to conservative propaganda, um, perpetuated by Fox News, fueled by the war in the Middle East. Um,
Yeah.
and the U.S. is currently in multiple wars in the Middle East. Yemen and Syria, most notably. Um, and oh yeah, here's the thing. This this is kind of off topic, but at the same time loosely related. So Joe Biden actually is putting more troops in Syria, which is it's pretty concerning. It's pretty fucked up. Um,
Shut up, Andrew. Shut. Sorry.
oh no, you're good. Um, yeah, Joe Biden. So we're actually going to be talking about Joe Biden quite a bit. Um, but and yeah, I'll explain why in a bit. But yeah,
Yeah.
we'll move on to Joe Biden in a bit. So anyway, so yeah, conservatives they really tend to contradict themselves a lot. Um, that was one of the examples. Let me think of another
Yeah.
example. Um, let's see. Oh yeah, they claim to be supporters of freedom of speech. Yet they're against far left protests, which you know is a complete violation of freedom of speech if you want to
Yeah.
use the government to suppress protests.
They're they only like freedom of speech when it's so that they can say hateful things.
Yeah, that's a very good point. They so they use freedom of speech to say to just get away with saying a bunch of hateful shit. Which don't get me
Yeah.
wrong, I support free speech 100% for all sides. But yeah, really, when it comes down to conservatism, yeah, they're really contradictory in what they mean by free speech. Because they're not letting others have free speech, while at the same time they're just spouting shit about how much they hate the LGBT or how much they hate Muslims or Mexicans or
Yeah.
whatever new group that Fox News tells them to hate.
You go first. Yeah.
Yeah.
You go first.
So going back to what a far right extremist would be, uh that would be in between a Nazi and an anarcho-capitalist. Uh, so along with radical conservatism, which I'd say is a pretty good candidate, there's also far rightism in general, which the far right can include many kinds of ideologies, as the far left does as well. Um, so lately, the far right has actually gotten a lot of attention lately over the media, most notably because of the Capitol riot that occurred on the 6th of January.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, that riot was, oh man, it was crazy.
Oh, you have to. Yeah.
But yeah, uh, so far rightism, of course, it includes Nazism and anarcho-capitalism, which we already went over before. Um, but it also includes some stuff in between. And a lot of this is fueled by QAnon overall. So QAnon is actually getting a lot of attention lately, and I've known a bit about them before it blew up in the news in January. Um, so QAnon is basically, to put it basically, all conspiracy theories tied into one. So like they believe in let me think of a random one. Um, they believe Hillary Clinton's a lizard person. They also believe um, that climate change is a hoax. They believe that the Earth is flat. They believe the moon landing wasn't real. Stuff like that.
Yeah.
And let's see. So yeah, this all ties into this just crazy idea that Donald Trump is the savior of the Earth. And uh, so yeah, this is a pretty dangerous ideology.
Yeah.
It's a pretty dangerous idea because, well, it resulted in that Capitol riot where 5 people died, by the way. Um, and so and so they were doing whatever they can to fight for Trump. Because they believe that Trump is the savior of the entire planet Earth.
Yeah.
That he must stay in power. And that Joe Biden is essentially Satan or something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So.
And they draw like those drawings of Trump as Jesus or whatever.
Oh, what the fuck? Really?
Yeah.
Oh wow, that's crazy.
I really think they're ironic because like they're in like painting art styles and they're like Trump on a like cross or whatever.
Oh wow. Yeah, that's absolutely insane. Yeah, I've never seen that before, but I'll have to look at that. Oh wait, actually, come to think of it, I did actually see like this. I think it's a meme or something. I'm not a fan of memes personally, but so on Facebook, I did see this one thing, where it was Trump, uh, and it was essentially Jesus on the cross, except instead of Jesus, it was Trump. Basically,
Yeah.
just trying to say that.
Let me send you one.
Okay. Oh wow. Oh wow, that's crazy. So yeah, this is a.
Actually.
Oh man.
And
Yeah, this is a.
here's another one.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Oh man. Yeah, these are really funny. Just basically,
Yeah.
The far right projecting Trump as just this heroic savior, just overall.
Yeah.
Yeah. But so I did see this one picture earlier where so it was Jesus on the cross, being crucified, except instead of Jesus' body, it was Trump, basically implying that he was savior of the entire earth. Um, but so um, so I couldn't tell if this was making fun of that or if that was an actual thing. Uh, but either way, there was a caption saying
Yeah.
that QAnon is um let's see, what is it, um basically basically the trailer park version of Jehovah's Witnesses. I thought that was hilarious as fuck. Yeah, I guess you can describe QAnon as basically that. Um, yeah, QAnon. I'd say you could say it's a cult at this point, honestly, because
Yeah. At this point, it just is.
yeah, it really is. Because I mean, they literally take an oath, uh, just to swear allegiance to Trump. Like it's insane. It's some creepy shit.
Yeah. Like they like worship Trump or whatever.
Yeah, they literally take an oath to Trump and worship him as savior. So I'm pretty sure it's safe to say that QAnon's a cult. Um,
Yeah.
and yeah, I'm pretty glad QAnon is being called out nowadays because it's just fucking crazy. It's ridiculous.
Yeah.
And here's the thing. Here's another thing about QAnon. Trump approves of QAnon, and that's just dangerous and that's ridiculous. Like they're receiving validation from uh, Trump himself. Yeah, which is yeah, it's really fucked up. Um,
Hmm.
yeah. So uh, so what would be included in these far right ideologies other than Nazism and uh, anarcho capitalism? Let's see, what else would you be able to have? I'd say I mean, well, I'd say this can include radical conservatism.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. As well as I guess you could say it can include the more radical parts of libertarian capitalism. Libertarian
Yeah.
capitalism tends to be more moderate, but at the same time, uh, like you've seen rightist libertarians lately, like they've gotten pretty extreme.
Yeah. Hang on a second.
Okay, you're good. Yeah, libertarian capitalists, yeah, they can be pretty extreme. Overall,
Yeah.
I'd say the best candidate for an extreme ideology that falls in between Nazism and anarcho-capitalism would have to be just in general radical conservatism.
Yeah.
Yeah, because conservatism, it can be more libertarian leaning, but it tends to be more authoritarian leaning. But since it can be both, I'd say it's best to really just say that conservatism is the ideology that's in between those two. Um, so I'd say that's probably the best candidate. So, so just for a recap of all those extreme ideologies, and it's not every single one of them. There's, of course, stuff in between the centrism and the rightism, the centrism and the leftism, etc. Blah blah blah. But
Yeah.
those are basically the main 9 points. Well, I think it's nine. Hold on. Um, Uh, oh no, it's 8 actually. Yeah, those are the main 8 points of extremism. So for a recap, uh, on the far right, authoritarian, you have Nazism, um, and uh, for centrist authoritarian, you have uh, fascism. On far left authoritarian, you have communism. Uh, on far right centrism, you have radical conservatism. Um, and on far left, centrism, you have radical liberalism. Uh, on the far right, libertarian, you have anarcho capitalism. On the centrist libertarian, you have anarcho mutualism, and on the far right libertarian, you have anarchism. Just in general, just far left anarchism.
Yeah.
Yeah, so they're the main. Those are the main 8 extremist ideologies. Would you have any to add notably? Just any notable extreme ideologies you'd like to add to this?
Wait, what? No, no, I think you listed most of them there.
Well, all right. Yeah, I'd say those are the main 8. Um, so yeah, that goes across the political spectrum, except for the center. Which so all those main 8 ideologies, those are basically the perimeter of the political spectrum. Uh, so everything in between that is either moderate or centrist.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so this includes and so many people, including actually one of my guests, in a previous episode, even said this, but despite what anyone says, moderate ideologies include uh, moderate conservatism, socialism, uh, libertarian capitalism, and moderate liberalism.
Yeah.
Yep. So yeah, a lot of people, especially rightists and just people on Fox News, they like to say that socialism is a radical ideology, but the truth is that's actually radical capitalist propaganda. Um, that's just trying to paint anything that isn't extremist capitalism uh, as well extremism. So if you want to give health care to everyone, then all of a sudden you're some sort of radical. You're some sort of radical socialist or something like that. Um, if you want rights for the LGBT, you're some sort of radical socialist. But yeah, it's really just all far right propaganda. When in truth, they're the real radicals here. Um, yeah, Fox News, and really just far right propaganda in general. I mean, well, I just said it right there. Fox News is radical far right propaganda. Um, basically anything that isn't far right mentioned on Fox News is basically demonized.
Yeah.
Yep. So yeah, would you like to add anything to that?
No thanks.
Okay, well that's all right. So let's. Oh shit. Okay, never mind. Uh, So let's talk a bit about uh, centrism applied to modern politics and current events. Um, no, wait, did I say centrism? Oh, I meant extremism. Uh, okay, never mind. Ugh. So yeah, let's talk about extremism that applies to current events. Um, so as you know, political tensions have been pretty high lately. They've reached their peak in uh, January, and I'd say tensions are starting to de-escalate actually. Um, so anyway, so as you know, the political season in America is ridiculously long, and it's really bad. It
Yeah,
started, yeah, for sure. It started all the way back in 2019. That's when candidates started running. That's when you had the first Democratic debates. Um, and that fueled some stuff. And then so Joe Biden was nominated as the Democratic nominee in early 2020. So that fueled a lot of stuff. And then, um, well, this is when things really started to get extreme in America. So,
yeah,
um, so in March, another thing was happening other than the uh, Democratic election primaries. Um, that's when the lockdowns happened. And this is not just in America. This is really all around the world. So these
yeah.
lockdowns were enforced by governments, which uh, at this point you could really consider them to be fascist, um, because so here's the thing about a lockdown. So a lockdown has it's essentially a prison term for locking down prisoners and keeping them confined in their jail cells. And that's essentially what's been happening to
Yeah,
us in uh, March through around, I'd say around May or June.
yeah,
Um, yeah. And there have been more lockdowns ever since. But this is when it all started in March. So you could argue, I definitely say without a doubt that these lockdowns are fascist because it was illegal to do all kinds of shit. It was illegal to um have concerts. It was illegal to have parties. It was illegal to congregate. It was illegal to
I
really
actually,
just do all
sorry, I
kinds of
have
things.
to go eat. I'm really sorry, I have to go eat dinner now. My mom calling me and yelling at me and stuff. I'm so sorry.
Oh no, you're good. So I hope you don't mind. I'm actually gonna finish up the episode alone. I'm not gonna talk about too much more stuff, but yeah.
All right,
I know you have an
all right,
emergency, so thank you for being on the episode, Slushy. It was great having you. Thank you. Just for being on. It was definitely great.
all right. Thank you. Goodbye.
Yeah, of course. See ya. All right. So as you know, sadly, Slushy had to leave. This has actually never happened before in an episode, but well, yeah, it happened. So um, actually, I'm gonna start wrapping things up. Because well, I'm the only one here now, so yeah. Uh, so I'm really just gonna finish where I was going with this. So the lockdowns happened. Yeah, they were definitely extremely fascist. For sure because well, your freedom, like you didn't have any freedom whatsoever to do anything. You couldn't go outside. You couldn't congregate. You couldn't have parties. You couldn't go to bars. You couldn't go to restaurants. Um, you couldn't go to concerts. I think I said concerts and parties. I don't know. I forgot. I I didn't say one of them, but yeah, concerts and parties. You couldn't go to either one of them. Uh, really, they were just trying to keep you inside in general. And the justification they used for this was the coronavirus, of course, which was used as a fear weapon, which is also another thing that fascists like to instill on people: fear. But we ain't having none of that shit. Fuck fear. Um, I'm not afraid of any of this shit. I'm not afraid of the coronavirus. I'm not afraid of the government. I'm not afraid of other people. I'm not afraid of any of that. Uh, yeah. Anyway, so where I was going with that. So uh, so yeah. Ever since that, yeah, the government has been really fascist. Um, which is a form of extremism, and so America, as you know, America has already been far right because of just how far right the overall political climate has shifted due to radical conservatism. Uh, but but here's the thing. Uh, so that combined, so this new far right ideology that America has, combined with just full blown fascism, equals Nazism. So it's safe to say that America is a Nazi nation, and Trump is definitely a Nazi. This is also this is also what led to the rise of extremism in America because of Trump being a Nazi. Uh, so Trump has been a Nazi the entire time. He's advertised himself as a conservative in 2015 because, well, he'd have to run as conservative in the Republican Party. At the time, extremism was still definitely very taboo. It's crazy how this is only 5 years ago. But yeah, extremism was very taboo, um, and and yeah, so conservatives didn't want anything to do with Nazis because that'd make them look bad, and it makes sense, rightfully so. Um, so Trump has been posing as a conservative for power, and well, he got power, and then he revealed himself as a Nazi because let's not forget, Trump is the one who enforced this lockdown. Trump has also done a lot of other fascist stuff, like pumping a fuck ton of money into the military budget, pumping a fuck ton of money into the police budget, the ICE budget. What else? He created a sixth branch of the military. He continued to perpetuate war in the Middle East. He almost started World War III. He's just done a fuck ton of fascist shit. And on top of that, the cherry on top would be the lockdown that he enforced. It's his executive order. No matter who says that he was against it, no, he was absolutely for the lockdown because, well, he enforced it through his executive order. So anyway, this is when America started to get really extreme, and just well, not just America, just overall worldwide. And so once you have one form of extremism be dominant, of course you're going to have a bunch of extremism as a backlash. So that's what happened. Shortly after March, in around May, this is when the Black Lives Matter riot started. Um, as you know, Black Lives Matter is it's a leftist organization promoting Black lives. It's against police brutality, against racism in general, and just overall advocates for black people being treated decently and fairly, which is a good thing. And well, is it's also highly advocated by far leftism. Uh, And so Black Lives Matter has received a lot of support from people all across the left. But yeah, mainly far leftists. Um, so this includes communists and anarchists, and really just of course, just really all kinds of uh, far leftists of all kinds, like radical liberals and stuff. Yeah, I already went over that, but um, so yeah, Black Lives Matter. Um, yeah, that was definitely so. Yeah, that was a reaction to well, just overall racist policing, which you could argue is um, actually not really. You could argue it is. It really is a form of Nazism. I mean, it's enforced by a Nazi government, and it's only been getting worse and worse. So logically, you conclude that the entire police force across the entire United States uh, is overall just a Nazi organization. And yeah, so Black Lives Matter is in response to this. And keep in mind that the lockdown was enforced by the police. So yeah, it's Nazis enforcing a Nazi ideology and a Nazi executive order. So, oh wait, fuck. Uh, never mind. So yeah, political tensions from the far left and the far right just rise over the entire course of the election season, um, which is America's long, 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 long political season. Uh, so, yeah, tensions just kept raising and raising and raising um, until, well, they reached their maximum on January 6th, 2021. Wait, did I say 26th? I meant January 6th. Yeah, January 6th, 2021. Uh, when when the far right decided to riot at the Capitol, killing 5 people. Um, and yeah, this is all to just install Trump as the supreme leader of the entire world for the rest of his life. Luckily, this failed though, or else this this world would be in a pretty fucked state right now. But yeah, luckily it failed. I'm really fucking glad it failed. Um, yeah, fuck the far right and fuck Trump. I'm also very glad Trump is not president anymore because fuck him. But yeah, so yeah, that's basically extremism clashing for you. And so here's another interesting thing. So the far right has been saying that there's going to be a civil war, which I'd say that depends on how you define a civil war, but really I'd say no, uh, because a civil war requires two militaries fighting each other. I mean, that's how the first American Civil War happened. It was America being split into two governments, which that's not happening right now. Right now, it's basically just rioters just clashing every now and then from the far left and the far right. It has been very intense, and some people have defined it as a civil war. But really, I'd say it's not a civil war, and I'd say there won't be a civil war. I've noticed tensions are really starting to actually de escalate right now, simply because, well, the right has lost. Um, yeah, the far right is now demonized again. Um, and uh, well, uh, let's see. Yeah, the far right is demonized again, and Trump is no longer in office. So So yeah, the status quo is now shifting more to the left. Um, because uh, yeah, far rightism is now no longer being tolerated. Um, because the left won all three offices. The left won. Well, actually, I'd say two out of three offices, and I'll explain why. Yeah, the left won Congress, which is the Senate and the House. Uh, but I will say one thing: the left technically didn't win the presidency. Uh, so, uh, so Democrats, of course, are leftists, but Joe Biden really isn't. Joe Biden is a centrist, pretending to be a leftist, just all to gain power. Um, and so this is why I mentioned Joe Biden earlier, because Joe Biden is a centrist. Uh, so so yeah. So I mentioned the eight main extreme political ideologies earlier. Joe Biden seeks to combat all eight of these at the same time, which is really fucking crazy. Because you can't really combat all eight. You can't really combat eight ideologies all at once. It's just not possible. Um, yeah, Joe Biden. Yeah, he's a centrist in so many ways. He overall just wants to unite the country. He wants he just wants unity even between Nazis and anarchists, which that's not really going to happen. Uh, Actually, maybe it can happen, but in a different way. Um, but but yeah, basically, it can happen if we all come together as people rather than as political ideologies. But the point is, Joe Biden wants people to unite under himself and the country, which is a very centrist thing to say. Um, he wants the right and the left to work together. Just overall, Joe Biden is a centrist in any way, and he doesn't even plan on doing a whole lot, really. I mean, he's done a fair amount. I guess the best way to describe it would be Joe Biden has spent a lot of time and a lot of action doing not much at all. That's the best way I put it. Yeah. Anyway, so the thing that really defines Joe Biden as a centrist, the thing that really proves how he's actually really a centrist, is just how against extremism he is. So Joe Biden plans on combating extremism, just in general. Which here's the thing he doesn't understand. There's a lot of ideologies that can be classified as extremists. Uh, I already mentioned the main eight earlier. I went over that, but yeah, this can include Nazis to anarchists, which are complete polar opposites. Joe Biden is trying to be against both of them, uh, which doesn't make a whole lot of sense. Because, they're complete polar opposites. So really, the only logical explanation you can come to, is that Joe Biden's a centrist. No one else would be so against extremism that they would just label all extremists as just awful and just go against them entirely. So yeah, Joe Biden's definitely a centrist for sure. Uh, yeah. I'd really say he's not really going to do anything really to combat extremism, really, because first of all, that's not really possible. If you try to, um, if you try to combat, well, really, how do I even break this down? Really, you have to attack one form of extremism first, and then you have to attack all the rest because they have different tactics, they have different ways of thinking, they have different ways of showing direct action. They have different ways of protesting, different ways of
just rioting, different ways of demonstrating, different ways of activism, different ways of congregation, different ways of organizing online. But yeah, if you focus on one, you're not going to be able to focus on all the others because extremism is very diverse. Extremism is far more diverse than, moderatism, really. Uh, and that's what makes extreme ideology so extreme. The fact that they're so, extremely different from each other. So Joe Biden's definitely going to fail on that in that aspect. It's really sad to just see him try to attempt to stop extremism. Uh, yeah, another thing would be censorship. Joe Biden plans on censoring extremism, but yeah, you can't really do that because the core of just all of our speech really comes from extreme ideologies. The core views that people have, the roots of them are extreme. So if you censor something, like if you censor anything, extreme or not, it's going to be just really, it's going to be just censoring one form of extremism. And to censor all of extremism, you'd have to censor, well, everything. And you can't really do that, or else, you know, uh, the entire country would just be one giant prison. That's just not possible because Joe Biden would, have to be in there himself. Therefore, he can't enforce anything else. So, yeah, it's a real mind fuck. But yeah, definitely that's a, an entire country being a prison. It's not possible, and we're not gonna let that shit happen. Um, yeah. Anyway, so what Joe Biden is proposing is very extremely unrealistic, and frankly, it's just laughable. Um, so Joe Biden, uh, I'd go further than saying he's just a centrist. I'd say he's an anti-radical specifically. He's just so against extremism. It's just laughable. Joe Biden is such a fucking joke. It's just ridiculous. Uh, Really, Joe Biden is shit. I mean, like, don't get me wrong. I hate Trump a thousand, no, not a thousand, 100 times more than Joe Biden. But still, Joe Biden just fucking sucks. Uh, but yeah, um, but yeah, I'm definitely excited to shit on Joe Biden in more episodes to come. It's been great shitting on him. Just oh man, I must have shit on him in like every episode so far. Fuck. But yeah, Joe Biden, he's just a joke. It's fun to shit on him. He's just one of those guys you like to shit on. Uh, but yeah, um, so so yeah, this is unironically centricide. Uh, as you know, centricide is J Reg's series. Um, yeah, uh, yeah, it really is centricide because you have extremists, you have the far left and the far right, um, just trying to just combat Joe Biden and at the same time each other. But yeah, and then Joe Biden is just trying to get rid of them both, which you can't do that. You just can't. And I explained why earlier. Um, but yeah, this is all just laughable as fuck. Um, J Reg is well, I mean he's really got it right with all this stuff, with all this centrist versus extremist madness, because that's really what it's come down to at this point. At this point, his content's no longer satire; it's reality. It's crazy. Um, but yeah, so yeah, Joe Biden is essentially the centrist menace, and well, extremists are the extremists, and then there's me, who's an anarchist, who you know, I'm completely fine with uh, taking down the centrists because fuck that shit. I mean, I don't hate centrism, but I'm not a fan of it because I'm very extreme and centrism is extremely moderate. But yeah, um, but yeah, so uh, yeah, I was really just trying to wrap up uh, just where we were going with that. Just overall last, what do you call it? Just last point overall. Um, so that's really gonna be it. Just simply because well, Slushy had to leave early, sadly. Um, but yeah, yeah, this is crazy. This has been like the shortest episode yet. But yeah, hopefully episodes in the future will be longer. Actually, I know they'll be longer. Um, yeah, this is crazy. Shortest episode yet. Yeah, that's about it, guys. Uh, yeah, stay tuned for next week's episode. If you want to be on an episode, or if you have an idea for a future topic in an episode, just leave a comment below. Um, and yeah, and you'll definitely be seeing that put into action. Uh, so anyway, yeah, that's about it, guys. See you guys later. Have a great day.